She scrubbed the same hospital floors for 37 years, invisible to most who walked past her. But one night, in a room dimly lit and heavy with silence, she overheard something that shattered her heart, a child's life slipping away because a surgery was too expensive. What happened next stunned the entire hospital. How could a woman with so little give so much? What made her do it? This is not a story about wealth. It's about something far deeper, something you can't measure in dollars. Her secret would change more than one life. It would change everyone who heard it. Estelle Brown is a soft-spoken black woman in her early 60s, barely noticed in the bustle of hospital corridors. She wears a plain uniform, her ID badge faded from years of use. Every morning she arrives just before sunrise, her steps quiet, her presence unobtrusive. She moves from ward to ward with quiet grace, pushing her mop, disinfecting surfaces, emptying trash bins, work most people overlook. But her smile? It's always there, small, warm, and sincere. Estelle's life is defined by simplicity. She lives in a tiny apartment just a few blocks away, where the furniture is second-hand, and nothing goes to waste. She clips coupons, cooks at home, and walks to work, even in the rain. Her co-workers often wonder why she never took vacations or treated herself, but Estelle never offered an explanation. Her story traces back to the segregated South, where she was raised by her grandmother in a crumbling house with no electricity. Life was hard. Her family was poor, often going to bed hungry. Her grandmother, a woman of fierce dignity, taught her early on, kindness is never wasted. Even when the world forgets you, God doesn't. Those words shaped her soul. Estelle endured her share of heartbreak, discrimination, financial hardship, and the untimely loss of her younger brother, who died from an illness they couldn't afford to treat. Yet through it all, she never let anger define her. She carried her pain quietly, turning it into compassion for others. She's more than just a janitor. Estelle sees everything: patients grieving, nurses laughing, doctors breaking down behind closed doors. She is the silent witness to life and death, joy and sorrow, love and loss. No one truly knows her, but she knows them, and though she's invisible to most, she sees with a heart that never stops listening. One quiet evening, as Estelle cleaned near the pediatric wing, a soft cry pierced the stillness. She paused, instinctively drawn to the sound. Through a partially closed door, she heard a young mother pleading with the doctor. Her voice cracked with desperation. Her 6-year-old daughter, Ava, needed urgent heart surgery, one that could save her fragile life. But the cost was staggering, over $70,000. The mother didn't have insurance. She had nothing left to sell, no one left to ask. The doctor's voice was gentle but resigned. The hospital had exhausted its charitable resources. They wanted to help, but without the money, their hands were tied. Estelle froze in the hallway. She gripped her mop tightly, her breath caught in her chest. Something about the mother's voice, the helplessness, the pain, ripped through her. And then it hit her. Her little brother. Decades ago he'd fallen sick. A treatable infection. But they were poor, black, and forgotten. By the time help came, it was too late. She'd never forgiven herself. That loss had never left her. In the days that followed, Estelle was no longer the same. Her smile faded. Sleep eluded her. Each morning, she found herself walking past Ava's room, watching her from afar. The little girl would sit by the window, humming to herself, holding a worn teddy bear. So full of light, so unaware that her future was being measured in dollars. Estelle's heart began to unravel. She found herself in a silent war. "I've saved this money my whole life," she whispered to herself at night. "It's all I have, my safety, my survival." But then another voice, the voice of her grandmother, echoed softly. "Love is not a word. It's what you give away." She looked at the bank statement taped behind her cupboard door. $67,000, every penny she'd saved for retirement, for emergencies, for peace of mind. But now she wondered, what peace is there in watching a child die? The question clawed at her. What is the point of a lifetime of saving if in the end it saves no one? She didn't know what the right choice was, but she knew this. Love, real love, requires risk, and sometimes it asks for everything. One morning, Estelle walks into the hospital administrator's office, quiet, calm, but visibly shaken. In her hands, she holds a worn, creased envelope, aged by time and sacrifice. With trembling fingers, she places it gently on the desk. Inside, $67,000. Every dollar she's ever saved. Every year of skipping vacations, walking to work, eating simply, saying no to her own needs. She looks the administrator in the eye and says softly, "Use it. Save that little girl. Give her the chance my brother never got. The chance I never had." For a moment, there's silence. They think she must be mistaken. A janitor, giving away everything she owns? But Estelle isn't joking. Her face is steady, her voice unshaken. The news spreads through the hospital like electricity. Nurses whisper it in hallways. Doctors wipe their eyes in disbelief. The single mother, upon hearing the news, collapses to her knees, crying uncontrollably. She tries to find Estelle, but Estelle stays away, never wanting attention, never asking for thanks. The hospital fast-tracks Ava's surgery. The best surgeons are called in. Hope floods the pediatric wing like sunlight through a window long kept shut. And Estelle? She goes back to work. Same hallway, same mop, same quiet smile. But something is different now. She's no longer invisible. Doctors greet her with deep respect. Nurses hug her. Families nod in reverence as she passes. People see her now, not just as a janitor, but as something far greater, a healer of hearts, a keeper of compassion. Estelle never asked for a legacy, but in one selfless act, she created one. A silent miracle carried out not by a surgeon in scrubs, but by a woman in worn-out shoes who understood that saving a life is the most sacred work of all. The surgery is a success. Ava survives. Her heart, once failing, is now strong, steady, full of life. The hospital celebrates quietly, with cautious joy. For Estelle, just knowing the little girl has a second chance is enough. A few days later, a nurse hands Estelle a piece of folded paper. It's a drawing, clearly made with crayons. A red heart, cradled gently by two hands. In a child's uneven handwriting, it reads, "Thank you for my life." It's from Ava. Estelle clutches it like treasure. She doesn't cry, but her eyes shimmer with a deep, silent emotion. No grand gesture could have meant more. The hospital organizes a small, private ceremony. No flashing cameras, no headlines, just love. Doctors, nurses, and even some patients gather to honor the quiet woman who had once walked those halls unnoticed. Estelle only says one thing. "I didn't do it to be remembered. I did it so someone else could have a future." And that was all. But stories have a way of finding light. One of the nurses shares the tale online, anonymously, from the heart. It spreads like wildfire. People around the world are moved to tears, moved to action. Donations begin pouring in from strangers. A fund is created in Estelle's name to help children in critical need, just like Ava once was. The ripple of one act of love turns into a wave of compassion. Back home, Estelle's apartment remains the same, modest, quiet, untouched by fame. But something inside her has changed. Her walls are still bare, but her heart is full of peace, full of purpose. She didn't set out to be a hero, she just refused to turn away. And in doing so, she reminded the world, sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest love. Estelle never asked for praise, only purpose. Her life, once dismissed as small and ordinary, became a beacon of extraordinary love. Ava grows up and becomes a doctor, inspired by the janitor who saved her life. Years later, she tells a crowd of students, "Greatness isn't about fame. It's about how much of your heart you're willing to give away." And Estelle? She passed on quietly with no obituary in the papers, but millions carry her story, proof that even the invisible can leave behind the most visible legacy of all. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more real life stories that inspire hope and humanity.